Hey there. So this last Saturday, Benny and I kind of continued working on those new tricks. So you can see here, I'm starting off with doing a bit of a spin. And during the first repetition, I used a treat to kind of bring him around. But then I faded the treat and just used more like my pointer hand signal to indicate that we were going to be doing a spin. And now you can see he's doing really well with it, so I'm even kind of changing my position. So instead of having him at my side, I'm going to be facing him and kind of prompting him with that hand signal. And then I'm actually going to start to add in a verbal cue. So I'm going to say spin and then do my hand signal around, mark and treat once he gets into the spin, and then repeat. So I'm just having a slight pause between the word spin and that hand signal. Now we're going to switch to his twist. So I'm going to start the same way with a treat airing him around. And then after that rep with the treat, I'm going to switch to a hand signal. And then I'm going to get it to where I can face him and use that hand signal and he goes around. And then I'm going to add in a verbal cue. And I'm going to use the word twist. So I'm going to say twist and then present my hand signal. And so the difference between these two are really subtle. It's basically which direction we're going to. So spin is going to be counterclockwise and twist is clockwise. Which is why I usually start with it on my side, because it can be a bit easier for me to know which side I'm working on when the dog is at my side. So we did some repetitions with that twist. And now we're going to move into this formal retrieve or take and give. And I'm going to start off kind of fresh, just presenting the little wooden stick to him. And when he mouths it, I'm going to mark and then give him a treat for handing it over. I'm going to repeat this a few times. He seemed a little bit rusty from where we were picking off from, which is pretty typical, I would say. This is a more advanced skill, so it can be kind of hard for the dog. So starting a step back makes sense. And after a few repetitions, you can see he starts to get a bit better about actually grabbing the stick. I then want to see if I can't add a little bit of duration to that. So I'm going to have him grab the stick, and then I want to see if I can't wait a moment and then mark and treat for him handing the stick to me. And we have to kind of play with this a little bit because he's kind of stuck in this. I'm just going to mouth the stick. And what ends up helping is I kind of get it a little bit farther back in his mouth. So instead of the front by his canines, I'm going to put it all the way back to the molars. And then he's really going to get a good grip on it. Then it almost becomes an opposite issue, because instead of having trouble hanging on to it, he then starts to have trouble letting go of it. So he'll want to start chewing on it and trying to chew on it. It gets kind of stuck. Well, not stuck, he just gets into chewing on it. So what I do is I'm going to mark with that YES and then show him the treat, and then take the stick as I give him the treat. And in this way, we're kind of trading the stick for a treat. And in time, I'll be able to add a give. I start adding in just the word give. So I usually say take it for taking the object, but I don't want to add in that cue yet. Instead, I want to start adding in the cue give. So I'm going to have him hold it. I'm going to mark for that hold. I then am going to say give and present the treat, so that then when he lets go of it, he's letting go of it after I say give. So we're going to repeat this a number of times, just really getting some good repetitions between having him take the stick, hold it for a moment, and then saying give and presenting the treat for him to hand the stick over with. So we're just kind of building some good repetitions here. In time, I'm going to start lowering the stick closer to the ground so that he has to practice bringing the stick up in order to give it to me. So that's going to take some time to grow and perfect, but he's off to a nice, strong foundation with it. We're then going to switch over to some nose work, and you can see here I now have what we would call like a hot plate, which just means that it has the birch smell in it, and then I also have a cold one, which means it doesn't have anything in it. And I'm going to start by tossing out a treat for him to find. He's going to come back, and I'm going to wait for him to kind of move towards the hot plate, and then mark and treat several times in that plate. And I'm going to repeat this a few times with the hot plate on the same side, so that's nice and easy, predictable for him as to where he's going to go and what he needs to do. And then after a number of repetitions with the same one, I want to continue to repeat it until he's kind of going towards it and sniffing it and kind of lingering in that spot, sniffing the hot plate. And then I am going to switch the two plates. So I'm going to move the cold plate to where the hot plate was, and then move the hot plate to where the cold plate was, and just see if he can make the move on his own to know where to go versus not having the other one there. So this can kind of trip up some dogs, but you can see he kind of moves forward at first and then realizes that that one's different now, and so he goes for the hot plate. So that was really good. We're going to repeat that a few times just so he can get the repetitions of going towards the hot plate. And you can see sometimes he's more motivated than others. This is still just the beginning of this nose work, so it's kind of a lot of just him figuring out what he's looking for and where he needs to go to find it. And it's also a lot of me reinforcing him at the plate, because that intention of smelling and sniffing, that's going to become like the indicator of where the smell is and what he's looking for. So I want to reinforce him a lot at the plate. And he's just going to ignore the other one. This is just to bring in the other one so that he can start to differentiate between the two. And then we're going to end on this really good